Hi, my name's Dermid. I am from Cool, deepest, darkest Aberdeenshire. I'm a PE teacher. I'm here to answer some questions about open water swimming. I'm pretty ancient now, so it was a long time ago when I first swam in an open water triathlon, and it was in Australia. I was working in Australia. I saw all these people training, and it was a really go for it outdoor environment. I signed up for the Nepean triathlon, and the swim section was in the Nepean River, and you had to swim up the river, and then you got to the halfway mark, and then you went with the flow down the way. But it was nice and warm, and it was a great experience. So that's what got me started in triathlon. And then when I moved back to Scotland a few years after that, I continued doing triathlon. Then most of the swims were in the pool, but more and more of them started to go outdoors. So then it was taking part in lochs. Loch Lomond was one of the main ones. And I just got used to being in open water. I actually enjoyed not being in a pool and being stuck to the lanes and the chlorine and all these things, and I just started to enjoy the freedom of being outside and being in large bodies of water. It was much cooler than being in the pool. I think there are more and more people swimming outdoors, and it's really cool to see. However, there's lots of lochs, there's lots of sea, and I think that more people could get involved. Seashell is a good way in, because the fact that they organise meetups and it's a social event where people can come along, and it's great to be inspired when you see other people. I think we often kind of underestimate what we as individuals can do, and we tend to need to see somebody else doing something, and it makes us think, well, if they can do it, then perhaps I could maybe do it as well. And it kind of just, it changes the mindset, and it makes it okay to do it. A few years ago, if you walked along the beachfront in Aberdeen, I don't think you would have seen anyone getting in the water and going for a swim. Whereas now, I think most people, when they walk along the beachfront, it's a common occurrence to see a group of people turning up in the morning, stripping off and jumping in the cold water, or starting off with wetsuits and swimming all the way along from the Dee to the dawn. So it's now becoming more of the norm, and that's encouraging more people to take up the challenge. It depends completely. The sea is more buoyant, and the waves make it more interesting, and it makes it more of a challenge when you have a strong wind. The loch depends where it is. We swam quite a few lochs last year, and every loch was different, but there's nothing better than stopping halfway across the loch and just looking up and looking at the hills in the background, or snow up in the corries, or just the whole atmosphere that's created by the clouds and the sky and the scenery around about you. So the scenery makes it a big deal when you're in the lochs, but the challenge of the sea makes it more interesting. And swimming in the river, for some reason, always seems to be slightly colder than either the lochs or the sea, and it must be something to do with the fact that it's flowing. It's good fun to just mess about in the river as opposed to actually do a full swim, or you can sometimes use it as an endless pool, and it's good to explore different rivers, and maybe not so much swimming but more jumping and exploring the rock features in the pools. I wouldn't actually classify the sea, the river or the loch as my favourite. I would say they're all different and they're all my favourite. That's a difficult question. The one that I enjoyed the fact that I'm hesitating means I don't have a favourite. I like them all for various reasons. I had to pick one from the loch swims that I've done. I think the one that I enjoyed the most, because of its location and because of the views and the weather, would probably be Loch Nagar. And there was a bunch of friends and people swimming with me that day, which added to the whole thing, so it was a big social occasion, and that was good fun. So let's just call it Loch Nagar. I would make sure that you buddy up with at least one other mad person who you are happy to be yourself with, because you might find it challenging if it's cold. They need to be encouraging, they need to be a reasonable strong swimmer, and they need to know what they're doing so that you can feel safe and secure. That will then give you confidence, and you can then start to push the boundaries knowing that you're going to be in safe hands. That question is difficult to answer, because it's one of these ones where you don't really know the answer to that till you've found the place that you want to go swimming, because I think there's lots of places abroad, and you tend to think, oh, abroad, we'll go to somewhere that's warm. So it would be nice to go explore places that are warm. However, I think there's a lot of swimming takes place now up in the Western Isles and the Outer Hebrides, and I know that there are companies that take people on boat tours where you swim between the islands. I think you end up swimming through caves and all sorts of rock features, so it'd be cool to go to the west coast and do some sea swimming, possibly with a group of people or on one of these tours. What I like about Seashell is the fact that lots of people are coming along and getting involved for all sorts of different reasons, and it's the social aspect that's the biggest issue. So not only is it getting in the water and going for a swim or going for a dip, it's playing softball, it's volleyball, it's getting to know people from all different walks of life. There's no egos and there's no competition as such, and all the people there seem to be really friendly and welcoming. I like the fact that you can use it for more than just dipping and swimming. I often find myself waking up in the morning and I'm still wearing my robe because I've been in the barrel the night before and I've stuck the robe on, jumped into bed with the idea that I'm going to take it off once I get warm and fallen asleep in the robe because it's so cosy and comfy. The challenge that I'm doing just now is a Seashell Dip a Day in October challenge, and I think this is day 8 or 9. And I've been in the sea, I've been in the river, I've been in the barrel mostly, and hopefully I'll get to jump in a loch before the end of the challenge, and it's going well. I'm enjoying it. The challenge that I did in the past, a couple of years ago, was I did the top 10 highest lochs in Scotland over 10 days, where we swam one loch each day, and I did that with Corley, and it was really cool. It was a real challenge. I hadn't expected it to be so demanding, but as we got through it, it became more and more demanding because of the fact that most of the lochs were very remote and you had to spend a lot of time cycling, walking, hiking to get to them, and then you had a long journey to get back out again. So that was a cool challenge that we did. I'd like to go back and do some of the lochs again without the pressure of having to get them done as quickly as possible to get on to the next day. I think it's really important. It's an obvious thing to say. I think when you do it, you appreciate the benefits of it, but it takes doing it in the first place to actually feel those benefits, because they can be very subtle, but they can have a large positive effect on your physical and mental well-being. I've also heard that cold water dipping is good for your immune system, and I'm sure everyone's heard about the Wim Hof stuff. However, to me it seems pretty simple that 50 years ago, maybe longer, there wasn't really hot water available to most families. So anyone that took a shower or a bath or any wash, it was going to be cold water, especially in the winter time, and it only became a bit of a luxury to have access to hot water. And I feel that as a society where we've taken more and more medicines and we have become fairly soft, and that we live in centrally heated, conditioned houses and use hot water all the time, we've lost that connection with nature. And I think it's important that we challenge ourselves to actually get involved with getting into cold water, and I think it is something that our ancestors coped with all the time, and it's good for us to reconnect with that. I think social media and role models is the main way to go. I was going to say most kids, all kids would appear to be absolutely addicted to their phones and to being online, and they're into TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, but they watch this stuff all the time and they are going to be influenced by what they see. So if Seashell, for example, post up things that look interesting and exciting, and you've got role models that are involved in open water swimming, it's going to sow the seed. For a lot of young kids, the problem we've got is that they don't really get access to swimming as much as they used to, and there's been a real cutback in access to swim coaching in pools. Certainly within education, it's more and more difficult now to get pupils in the water. So I think there's a real push and a drive needed to get them swimming in the first place, and then try and then expose them to, as I say, role models and videos and cool people who they would then look up to and try and emulate. I would say stop faffing about and making excuses and get on with it. Just do it.